remember going to one of my first fight shows and just thinking, how can anyone even get up in there and do that? You know, just being young and just watching and hearing the cracks of the shins on the body and people getting cut and grown men just like, you know, getting knocked out, or like seeing them walk back past me to the change room, like just in pieces, you know. And I just remember thinking, this is wild.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Fighters of Perth podcast. I'm very lucky today to have Jordan Godtfredsen with me today in the studio. Jordan, probably one of the most dominant fighters in Australia at the moment, and sure an inspiration to many young fighters at the moment, and an inspiration to me as well. Jordan, thank you for coming down today.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that. It's very kind of you. Cheers.
For anyone that's getting started in the Muay Thai scene at the moment, or that's just getting started in their own training, just give them a bit of a rundown about your fight experience, kind of where you're at the moment.
Well, I'm 30 years old now. I've been training since I was 13. I had my first fight at 14 years old, so I've been fighting, competing for about 16 years. On and off a few times. I've had a few breaks here and there, but I've been pretty consistent other than the COVID pandemic sort of times. I've been pretty consistent since I was probably about 22. So the last 8 years I've been pretty active, bar a couple of years with the lockdowns and stuff like that. But yeah, I've trained at my gym Darren's gym, Calsop Muay Thai in Forestdale, which was previously in Canning Vale. I've been there my whole career. So I've been there, this is my 17th year, which is a bit crazy really, isn't it, when you think of it like that. But no, I've been training since I was 14, 13, 14, had my first fight, just before my 15th birthday. I've now had, I think, 43 fights. Just for a couple of weeks ago over in Melbourne.
Title-wise, where you're at with titles? You got the beautiful green belt.
Yep.
Recently, I think you got 2 of them.
Yeah, so I was the Super Lightweight Australian champion. So that was in the WBC sanctioning body, which was 63.5 kilo. I was that champion over the COVID pandemic. Attempted to defend it, but there was really no fights available, and very hard, obviously, travelling interstate or having anyone fly in. So that was, didn't make anything easy for anyone. But since coming back from the pandemic and the break, I actually have since then won the welterweight WBC Australian title, so it's the next weight up. And now I am actually back fighting at my current weight, my original weight, super lightweight, and working my way up the rankings for a world title shot. And I also just won the WMC Intercontinental title.
Yeah, I saw that. Congratulations, man.
So, yeah, thank you. Cheers.
Yeah. And if I'm not mistaken, I think since the COVID break, you've been on like a 5-fight win streak. And before that, I don't even know when the last time you've even lost a fight.
Yeah. How many have I had since? I think it is about 5. I think I've had 5 since I've come back from COVID. I've won 3 by stoppage. Before that, I think I'd maybe had 4 fights previous with wins back to back, and my last loss, God, who was it? I think it was
That's how long it's been.
I think it was
That's how long it's been. Yeah.
I think my last loss was on Siam to Sydney against Singh Payak.
Right,
which was a good fight, another close fight, win the distance, and I lost on points.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah.
Sure, it was
a while ago now, though. Yeah.
Been that long. So question number 1 is what drives you to fight? What motivates? Not just fight for each individual fight, but fight in general. Why do you think you like to fight?
That is a hard question, man. I have been asked that a few times, but I think the biggest thing when it really comes down to it, it's just challenging myself. You've been through it before. You know, it's like the getting ready for the fight and the preparations and all the different battles, whether it's from your fitness, your physical aspect, your mental battles, and your diet and the discipline that it takes to do it. That's something that appeals to me, I guess. And you only live once, and you're only young once. So I like challenging myself, and when it comes to fighting, it's not really me versus them, it's me versus me. So it's just something I've always loved doing. It's opened some really, really good doors for me. Created great friends, relationships. I've travelled, networked, been able to make money in the sport, which is obviously helpful as well. But yeah, no, I've just always loved Muay Thai. Since I first started it, as a young kid, I played soccer. From there, I went and played AFL. And I like the tackling in the AFL. My mum didn't want me doing any tackling in primary school. It was soccer only. Got to high school, my friends were playing football. I was like, I want to play football. By then, I wasn't a very good kick because everyone else had been doing Oz kick, so my football kick was heading out that way. But I could read the play well, I could tackle well, and then tackling wasn't enough. So I got introduced to Calcite Muay Thai, meeting my good friend Daniel Williams in high school in year 8. He invited me down, and yeah, the rest is history. I fell in love with the sport. I dropped out of AFL, and yeah, been training at Calcite ever since.
Yeah, and did you, when you walked in to Calsoc on that first day or had your first session, did you know like, oh yeah, I want to compete like straight away, or was like, oh, I'm just going to do this for a bit of fun and just kind of see where it goes?
Yeah, I was only 13. I wasn't a very confident kid. Like, yeah, I don't know. I liked the training. I had a coach at the time that was really good, especially for me when I was really young, and yeah, I don't know. It wasn't like I want to fight. Like that wasn't like my mentality. It was just showing up each day at the time after school, and yeah, just learning the techniques, building confidence, and then at that stage, there were some fighters already at the gym, so I got to watch them. I remember going to one of my first fight shows and just thinking, how can anyone even get up in there and do that? You know, just being young and just watching and hearing the cracks of the shins on the body and people getting cut and grown men just like, you know, getting knocked out, or like seeing them walk back past me to the change room, like just in pieces, you know. And I just remember thinking, this is wild. Like, I don't think I'll ever do it, but I love the sport. I loved watching it. Like, this is me at 13, 14. And I just took it one session at a time, 1 week at a time, 1 year at a time. And I got the opportunity to fight about a year into my training, so into the second year after that. And yeah, like, it went really well. I think I won my first 9 fights. And yeah, I was fighting adults pretty quickly as well, because back in those days, yeah, there was no padded rules. Yeah. So we weren't wearing padding. I think my first 2 or 3 fights at age 14, I wore just shin pads, those like soft slip-on shin pads. But after that, it's been bare shin, mouth guards, gloves only, since I was maybe 15, 16 years old. And at that time, there wasn't many kids even training. Like, it was really just a men's and women and adult women's like dominant sport. And even still, like the female side of the sport was much quieter. And yeah, there wasn't really many other kids doing it. Like, how many parents want their kids fighting, you know? And even like with my folks, I remember I had to lie about fighting. I would be going off and faking the signed wager at the weigh.
So your mom obviously probably didn't like you doing tackle sports. Probably wasn't aware of your first few fights.
Absolutely no. So she's only ever come to one, which was my third fight. So the first couple I had to lie about. The third one was like, all right, this is what I'm doing. Come have a watch. And it was domination number 2.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was at the Canine Association. I fought a guy from Pond's Gym, and it was like a 3-minute round fight, and I don't think I even got touched, to be honest. And she was just like this the whole time. She was crying. Yeah. She was like, I can't come to that ever again. I was like, that's all right, no worries. So that was the last time she came and watched me fight. But once the fight's happened and she knows I'm okay, she's happy to sit down with me, like when I get back to Perth, and we can watch it together.
Talk about that. Do you get any of your other family members coming to watch you fight, or is it just
my partner, Emma? So she comes when she can. Like, we got a daughter and that. She's pregnant at the moment again. So she came to my last one in Perth. She would have really liked to come to Rebellion in Melbourne, but obviously we got the little girl to look after, and she's only 10 weeks from giving birth now, so she's getting pretty big.
Very soon, man.
But yeah, my old man, he's come to 1 or 2, but he lives over east now, so he can't really come that much. Again, he didn't like watching it either. Like,
really?
And he's a pretty tough old man as well. Like, and he just didn't even like watching it. I actually fought one of his mate's sons back in the day, which was Zach Arneson.
Really? Oh, wow, yeah.
My dad and his dad were mates, I think through the music industry. His dad owns a tattoo studio, and but I think he plays guitar and stuff as well. And my dad might have helped him out with some instruments and just the music sort of, you know, it's like the music scene, the tattoo scene, all that sort of stuff sort of comes hand in hand. So him and Zach's dad went and watched us both fight each other this one time, and he fucking hated it. He's like, mate, I'm never coming to any one of those ever again. Never again. So that was the last time he came and watched me fight.
I can imagine. How does Emma find the whole like the experience? Is she covering her eyes, or is she cheering?
No, she's good. Like, I got to take my hat off to her. I couldn't do what she's done in her position, like watching a partner fight. I don't know. Like, I don't like watching. Like, I like watching my mates fight, but I get more sort of like emotionally invested when my mates are fighting compared to when I'm fighting. I'm not too bothered. Like, it's kind of more natural and normal for myself. I don't really work myself up too much. Mentally, but watching mates fight, like close friends, like when I see Daniel, like that gets me going, gets me a bit nervous.
Yeah,
you just hope the best for him. But no, she's been really good. In recent times, maybe since becoming a mum, she gets a bit more worried.
There's more to lose.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, no, she's come to all of them pretty much. She's seen me have some hard fights. She's seen me get cut open and stuff like that, and she's always been very supportive. So I'm very lucky in that aspect.
Does she nurse your wounds after?
She has, yeah. And her good friend Kat, both of our friend Kat, who's a nurse, has come round and picked stitches out of my head on a couple of occasions. So, lying on the couch and stuff like that. So, and bringing me ice and helping me out. She's a big help for sure.
Yeah. That's awesome to have a partner that's willing to help you with something like this and that's supportive as well. So you're not having to fight them on this.
Absolutely, man. And that's the biggest thing, I think. Like, you got to have a partner that is supportive and understands, but you've also got to do the right thing by them as well. And it's all about balance, really, isn't it?
Yeah. So I remember that there was obviously, like you said, when you first started off fighting, you're fighting quite consistently. And then you had this, must have been like a year or 2 year break. You went away. I remember because you were there when I first started getting to started Muay Thai.
Yeah.
Maybe my first fight, and then you kind of vanished for like a year or two, I guess, to kind of find yourself.
Yep.
Came back like 100 kilos or something. I remember I still got the photos as well. So chunky back then.
Okay, so we're talking about that. All right, so we're talking about around 18 years old, I reckon.
Was it 18?
19, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so I did have a break. So I had like a year and a half break. I think it was after... See, I was undefeated for 9 fights. Then I lost against... what's his name? Sorry. Malad. I lost against Malad. And I lost against Roy as well. So I fought Roy on my 10th fight. I lost. I broke my elbow on my left arm. And I broke my right hand as well, which was already previously broken, like I think 6 months before that. So I ended up, going... And that was all in the second round, all before the second round. And then I ended up getting stopped by Roy in the 4th. And I think I was about 18 years old at that time. And then I had and to be honest, I probably shouldn't have been in the ring with Roy at that time because I wasn't training properly.
Was that the one where you threw up the
rings
everywhere?
No. That's not okay. That was a demo on 2 days' notice.
Oh, really? Right.
That was 16 years old. That's not a funny story, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah, okay.
But I had fought Roy, and then I fought Malad, and there was a time when I think I was just immature, 18 years old. Like I said, I think I won my first 9 fights, and then I lost my 10th and my 11th. I wasn't doing the right things, to be completely honest with you. I was, as most kids are around that age, I wanted to go out drinking and probably smoking cannabis and doing all that sort of stuff. And I was working, pushing barrows as well, concreting. And I remember just absolutely thrashing the body all day at work in the sun, 40-degree days, and then you go to the gym and you've got nothing left, and I didn't even want to be there. I was just an immature kid, to be honest. So I had about a year and a half off. Blew out to about, not 100 kilos, Michael, but I think about 80, 85. I was probably about a foot shorter as well. So I just, like, once again, just probably maybe a little bit of, just immaturity and maybe a little bit of maybe depression and not really doing things that were positive at the time. And then, pulled myself out of it. Started riding from my home at the time, which was in Manning, all the way to Canning Vale on my push bike, which helped drop a lot of weight. And we also had Jack 300, which ended up coming over around at that time, which was who took me under his wing. And, I never really looked back since.
Yeah. I remember when you came back, you had this new kind of fire. Like you had so much drive. And I remember you were telling me something at one point about that. It's like, if you're not 100% into it, then like, why do it at all? Exactly, you know? And you're talking like, there was a big shift in your state of mind. Do you know what the catalyst was for that?
Like I said, I think I got to a place in my life at that time. I was only young, like I said, 18, 19 years old. I think I got to that place where I was like, I wasn't happy. I wasn't happy where things were going. A few people that I was hanging around with ended up getting in a bit of trouble, just in their lives and stuff like that. And I could see where that was taking them, and that was probably a big wake up call for me. Like, I don't want to go down any of those paths. I don't want to throw my life away so young. And then the thought of what used to make me happy, or what was keeping me motivated, what was keeping me healthy and mentally strong, which was Thai boxing. And after I was able to get like through the couple of losses, obviously, like I fought Roy and lost, and fought Malad and lost. Once I got through that, like, I don't know if you remember, but I ended up getting blasted by Darren. Do you remember that? Were you there?
No, I wasn't.
Gave me a full mouthful in the change room after the Malad loss, and I deserved it because, once again, he knew I wasn't training hard enough. Like, he knew I wasn't there enough, and I fought shit, and I was unfit. So, and I got what I deserved, really. And once I got over, like, I guess not the embarrassment, but the self shame of going through that, pulled myself together as 18, 19-year-old. I was like, nah, let's get back to the hard work. Let's see if we can get back into this and see where it takes us. Because at the end of the day, it's not only just about fighting, just getting back into training. Like, that's such a good thing for so many people. And it's a really positive thing that you can take into all sorts of aspects of your life.
Yeah. How are you finding now training, being a father of now soon to be 2 kids? How are you finding the balance of being able to obviously have a kid that age and still, I'm sure you're working and still coming in training and still doing all those things well?
Yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy, but like you said, it is balance. It is balance. I do work full time. I work 9 hours, 9 hours a day, 5 days a week. So where I can, I train in the mornings. I actually built a home gym as well over COVID. So my double car garage has been turned into a gym. Mats, kettlebells, weights, chin-up racks, bag, everything that I could possibly need, which has been a real big help with balance, really. So I train at Calsoc a couple nights a week and on the weekends, and then a couple nights a week I do my strength training at home. But I can do it in the morning before work. I can do it really late at night after I come home from work, spend time with my daughter and my wife, cook dinner, give her a bath, put her to bed, and then I can go do my training. So I think it really is about balance. And having that home gym has made it a lot easier as well. Right. So, and I live very close to Calsoc, so I'm only 5-minute drive. So that's like another big thing. So if I lived half an hour or an hour away, I think that would be very difficult.
Yeah, well, the community.
So I've structured my life around being able to do what I want to do. So you got to make it work however you can.
Yeah, and it seems to be working. Obviously, your fights are still very, very quality. So, and that's pretty cool that you able to find that balance to do what you love, and obviously doesn't take away from all the other things that need to be done. Yeah. So I respect you for that, man. Because I don't know if I could do that.
It's not easy, but my mentality with that is like, you're only young once. You're only physically able to compete and do the things like this that you love once. So why not make some sacrifices? And it comes back to also your partner and the way you structure your life. Like, you got to have someone that's understanding and supportive as well. But you can't be selfish, and you have to. Yeah, you got to manage your time and your energy well, and if you want to make it happen, you got to make it happen. Yeah, that's what it really comes down to. If you really care and you really want it to happen, you got the discipline to make it happen. Then you'll get it done. Yeah,
and you talking about you only live once. You're at 30 years old now. Like you said, you've been doing this for about 15, 16 years. How are you finding right now? Like, how's your body handling? Obviously, training as vigorous as you do. Fighting, how's it like being for 30? Some people say they feel they're strongest at 30. Some people who've been competing for like 15 years, they're like, by 30, I'm done. You know, where do you feel? And saying that, based on what you say, I guess, like, do you see yourself obviously doing this for another 10 years? Like, where are you at? Like,
where am
physically?
I? Physically, I feel amazing right now. I've never felt stronger. But in saying that, I do know I recover slower.
Yeah.
And I've also had injuries in the past that you also got to look after. And I think there's a lot of maturity that comes as you progress as a fighter, as well as understanding your body, knowing your limits, knowing where you can push and where you need to pull back. Learning to listen to your body is another one as well, man. Like, you've trained with me in the past at Calsoc, and you know what that sort of old school style of training is like, especially back then, man. being kids in a gym full of adults, and it was like that mentality of like pain's weakness leaving the body, you know, where that's a good way to think in some instances, but in other instances you got to know what sort of pain is that. Is that like just I'm tired and I'm maybe a bit sore from just overtraining, or is something not feeling right and maybe I should pull it back today and just a bit of mobility, or go for a swim, or go for a sauna, or change the strength session that I'm about to do. But injury wise, I'm feeling A-okay at the moment.
Good.
It's gone real good. I've never physically felt stronger.
Wow. Okay.
And I think that's just come from just in the last maybe 5 years, the sort of consistent strength training that I've been doing. But I have had like multiple injuries over the years, like broken hands, broken toes, broken foot, broken elbow. I've had a shoulder recon. My biggest one was a herniated disc in my back, which put me away for about a year. But those were all at the same time learning curves to understand why the injuries came, how to heal them, and how to come back stronger from them. And I can happily say at the moment nothing's really giving me any issues, which is a blessing, really. But to finish your answer, 30 now. I still love the sport. I've always said, like, as soon as I don't want to do it, as soon as I don't love it and don't want to compete anymore, I'm not going to do it. Why would I be putting myself through this and for something I don't love doing, you know? And I think I'm at that stage now where I'm right up there in the world rankings. I'm pretty much top 10 or 5 in both the main sanctioning bodies. I'm on the doorstep of a world title fight in both sanctioning bodies. And I think I've got at least a couple of years left, but I'm definitely not going to be around here 10 years later. I don't want to be one of those guys that overstays their welcome. And Muay Thai, I believe, is a young man's sport, especially if you're starting at 14 and 13 years old. If you're starting at 20, 21, 22, 25, like some people do, mate, you can... You know what I mean? There's nothing saying you can't fight at 40 years old, 35 years old, you know, in your late 30s. But it really does depend. It's an individual thing, I think. You got to look at your life, for one. How's your life set up? How's your body reacting to what you're doing, and where your head's at the time. Yeah.
You mentioned earlier about that old school style of training. Is there anything... Obviously with you incorporating that strength training, probably a bit more of a sports science mentality to the way you do things, is there anything that you would do differently from the way you used to do it
back in the day?
Back in the day?
Yeah, heaps. I do heaps differently to how I was back in the day. I never had a rest day, mate, back in the day. Never ever had, not that I have many now, but I wasn't doing strength training. It was just Muay Thai Monday to Saturday, and running hard on concrete Monday to Saturday. You know, no proper warm-ups, no stretching down, no foam rolling, no good nutrition. So there's so many things that have changed, and it's just continues to progress. You still tweak things. I'm still learning now, you know. I believe in martial arts, and in life you're always a student. You're never going to be a master. So if you keep your mind open to new things and be willing to learn and evolve, then you're just going to progress as a fighter and as a person.
Yeah. Is there any, I know this might be a bit controversial, the way that Muay Thai is trained generally, like the standard Muay Thai session, your 10, 15 minutes, or first you run, then your 10, 15 minutes skipping, and then your 2-3 hour training session of pads or shadowboxing pads, sparring, clinching, all that. Is there anything about it that you think is flawed or could be improved upon? Or do you think it should just be kept exactly how it is?
I love how it is, to be honest, with the Muay Thai. I think the Thais have come up with the perfect way of training for that particular way of sport. Like, obviously MMA is different and boxing is different. There's different things you got to work on. But with Muay Thai, I like the traditional style of training. But in saying that, again, it's like, what would I change is, warming up properly, warming down properly, and listening to your body. Like, mate, if your neck's crooked, like you're all locked up, you're not clinching today. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, stuff like that where maybe traditionally they'd probably whack you with a stick and you're in the ring. You know what I mean? And then what happens? You injure your neck worse and you don't fight at all. Or do you hate that rest day and you come back and you fight the next day and you're still back in the fight camp? So I think a lot of it comes to risk versus reward management, especially in fight camps, and listening to your body. And I think there's a difference between how old you are as well. Like, so if you're starting out and you're young, you can just keep going. You recover so well. You can get absolutely thrashed, drag tires around ovals, can do sprints, and then get into a full session. Yeah. But as you're getting older, like, you might already have that strength and that explosiveness and that conditioning. So do you need to be running yourself completely down every session, you know, or do you just pick your sessions to peak on and really push, and other sessions you can be a bit more technical and work on different things. So I think it really is a person by person sort of basis, and really knowing what your strengths and weaknesses are and where you want to progress. And my mentality has changed, where before it was just hard 100% every session as much as you can all the time, but
go hard or go home type thing.
but now it's like looking at the bigger picture. It's like I got to fight in 8 weeks, and the only motive is to be in the ring on that eighth week, the strongest, in the best condition, with the least injuries and the fittest I can possibly be. And if doing 5 full power sessions this week's not going to get me to that point, then I'm not going to do it.
Yeah. That sounds like you've have a lot of experience of training a certain way and seeing the detriments that it can put on your body.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, if you get injuries or you run down, you don't have energy, you don't have any power, like you can get to the end of a fight camp and not feel strong. Get to the end of a fight camp and feel exhausted.
Has there been a fight?
Feel like that, you know, you want to feel strong. You want to be feeling like at your peak on that day. You don't want to be feeling worse on fight day than you were feeling 4 weeks prior. You know what I mean? So it's got to make sense and it's got to add up.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting to, is all that. Is there a fight where you felt like your training was good, but then you just kind of dipped on that fight week? You know, you felt like you maybe were a bit burned out, and then that showed in your performance?
Yeah, there's times like, not in any particular example, but times where if you don't feel strong in the ring, or your energy levels are down, and that can be from the weight cut, that can be from overtraining. It could be from being sick on fight week, which is, I've been sick a couple of times. Excuse me. So yeah, it really does depend, man. But that's the thing. It's just trying to mitigate those things. Some things are completely out of your hands. You know, you don't know. You can't help getting sick on fight week. You can't help maybe not feeling 100% on the night. But if you dig deep and you push on, you just make it happen. And that's sort of my mentality. Is I've been in the ring a few times with injuries or being really unwell. Like one of my last fights previously with a Thai who's now a trainer at my gym, Prabsuk. I was so sick, man. I got so sick, like 5 days out. I lost my voice, like had mad hot, cold sweats, just a really bad flu. Couldn't swallow. It was like razor blades. And then even on the night, I was like, had lozenges. I had like nose sprays out the back in the change room. Like I just had like a red face from blowing my nose so much. And I just remember thinking, fuck, I got to get this done against this serious Thai in this condition. But then I just pulled my mentality back to like the fact that this is a fight. You can't, what happens if you're in the street? You go, hey mate, time out. Like I'm sick. We can't fucking do this. Or I'm injured. My elbow's busted. We can't do this. It's like, no, you got to make it happen. You got to find a way, and you got to work around these things. So yeah, I think it just comes down to, I don't know, being mature with and really just knowing what you can and can't do, and yeah, just having belief in yourself as well that you can get through it.
Yeah. Is there any fight you would go, like if you could travel back in time to any fight, is there any fight that you would do differently, or any fight?
I think there'd be lots of fights I do things differently, but at the same time, you're reactive in there, aren't you? You know, like it's reaction. Like you natural. You're trained a particular way. Your body's going to react in particular moments. There's times where I'd like to train differently in a fight camp, and then I probably could add a different result or a different style of fight on the night. But you can't have any regrets. I think you just got to learn from them, learn from your mistakes, or learn from things that have gone well for you as well, and apply that into the next one, your next fight camp. Yeah.
Is there anyone you'd like to fight again just for fun? It's just an enjoyable
Sam
fight.
Apesh would be good.
Yeah.
That's a sick fight. Yeah, I think I fought him on Rebellion, 6-7 years ago. I was only a bit younger, not as strong, but I went the distance, and he's tough, man. He's a scary Thai. He's one of those like mean, here to hurt you sort of Thais. I lost on points in that fight, and I think I'd like to do that one again one day. That'd be good.
Okay. Now, before we go, we've got to hear this Mandarin story. Was it a Mandarin that you...
Oh, yeah, we're going back to it. I think it was a Mandarin.
Yeah.
A few things, yeah. So you want the full...
I want the full story. I want them to have the full story.
All right, so don't be doing what I did here, all right? So this is, again, coming back to diet and understanding how to refuel. So I actually didn't cut weight for a fight. I was only 16. Took a fight on very short notice. I think it was like 2 days. just a like a demonstration fight. So it was like you both get your hands raised. It's a draw in pads, and didn't cut weight, weighed in, but still refueled as if I cut weight. And I remember just overeating, over drinking, and then on the day, because it was my first day show as well. I remember it was like Domination Development Day, and I think I was first fight at 1 p.m. I'm sitting there eating mandarins at like fucking 11:30, 12 o'clock an hour before the fight.
Yeah.
And then I was in the first round and we're fighting, and I'm like, oh, I don't feel so good. Push kick him away. He comes forward, punch him away. I'm like, hold on a minute, and just had a wicked little spew in the ring. Blair Smith comes in with the towel and like flicks it into the audience, flicks it on people's tables. Everyone's just like, ah. And I felt great. I'm like, sweet, I'm all good, ready to go. And then the doctor's like, nah, mate, this is a demo. Nah, too risky. You're 16 years old. We'll call it off. So
you already had like a few fights by then.
Yeah, I had like 4 or 5, and then I ended up fighting that boy again. I think on Domination, the proper pro show in later in that year, and I won by stoppage in the first. So I managed to come back and sort of avenge that little mistake. But yeah, be careful what you're eating before the fight, and after the weigh-in especially. Yeah, and getting the fight in the ring in condition. Don't be taking things short notice. Yeah, that's the next.
Nothing that's brand new. Nothing that's body's not used to.
Exactly. Yeah.
What? To wrap things up, right? To the new guy, the new guy that's Muay Thai. The new guy that's getting started in Muay Thai, interested in fighting. What word of advice? What kind of direction would you put him on?
Man, just be the hardest worker in the room. Look at the people that you sort of aspire to be like, and see what they do training wise. See how they conduct themselves, not only in the gym but outside the gym. I think that's another really big important thing. You're only in the gym a small fraction of your week. What you're doing outside the gym, that's going to really affect your performance in training and throughout a fight camp and into the fight itself. But yeah, just be the hardest worker in the room. Be open to learning. Be open to being beaten. Don't let a bad session run you down. And just keep showing up. Listen to your trainers. Pick a gym that you feel comfortable in, a gym that cares and looks after their students. And don't be lazy. Look after your body, and if I could give any word of advice, make sure you're just warming up properly, you're stretching down properly, and do those little extra, what I like to call the 1%ers, things like, just recovery, saunas, massage, stretching, foam rolling, and then the other 1%ers which are in the gym, like things like knees on the bag, push kicks on the bag, chin-ups every session, push-ups in between rounds, neck weights at the end of the session, just enjoy the ride, I think, more than anything, because if you don't enjoy it, why would you do it?
Exactly. Or we're just not enjoying ourselves throughout the whole thing, and then next thing you know, I think that's reflecting in the performance as well.
Yeah, and you resent it, man. You'll resent it. Like, if you're not loving it and you're hating it and you're just, it becomes a chore for you, then on the night, you're not going to be like, I want to get this done. I've been training so hard. I'm ready to win. I've deserved to win. You're going to be like, oh, it's here now. This has been a hard camp or whatever. Like, it's going to, those sort of that mentality and that, and those experiences will come into the performance as well. So you gotta enjoy what you're doing, and just do the hard work. That's probably my biggest advice.
Jordan, if anybody wants to follow your journey, what's the best way for them to do that?
Probably on Instagram. That's probably my most public sort of account. I've got Facebook as well, but I think I'll be pulling that back to more of like a private sort of account for like friends and family in the coming year or so. But yeah, on Instagram, just search my name, Jordan Godtfredsen. It'll come up. But yeah, just on there, if they want to follow, feel free. Yeah,
and you're doing PTs as well. I see that you're doing some PTs, some one-on-one sessions.
Yeah, so I'm doing like some PTs just in spare time, between training, between work, between all that sort of stuff. Mainly on weekends, strength training, PTing, pad holding. I'll also put myself out there if anyone wants any sparring or clinching, needs any help, because my son's due to be born in 10 weeks, so I wasn't going to fight before then. But in saying that, I actually might also have some other fight opportunities coming up in the short time before he's due. So I'm sort of
What can you tell us about that?
Not too much, but we've had a couple offers in the next, say, 5 to 6 weeks, and a few things need negotiating first just to make sense. But yeah, like I said, the body's good. I'm feeling good. I've had 3 fights this year already, feeling pretty good with the body, and if I get one more in before my little man comes, it'll be good.
Yeah.
See how we go. But if I don't fight, then I'm not too bothered as well. I'll see everyone back in November. Yeah.
Jordan, thank you very much for coming on.
Thanks for having me, mate.
It's been a pleasure.
Lovely. Cheers.